Hello, Narnach here. Welcome back to Path of Exile. This is the rebuild. At least I'm progressing with the rebuild. I'm currently made it to Act 4 normal. And I'm mostly rebuilding the same character. Along the way, of course, because of random loot drops and random rewards and things like that, I counted a couple of other opportunities that I'm now pursuing. But let's for now let's see what's the same. So still got Essence Drain and Contagion. They are the bread and butter of the skill of the build even. They still work exactly the way they do. I remember having another enchantment on Contagion, but I think I picked it up later. I mean, I just keep referring to what I had when I died in Act 2 Cruel compared to now, so there's some things I have, some things I don't, and along the way I picked up a couple of new tricks. One of the new tricks is Clarity. So if you recall, I used to have quite some issues with, basically I had an addiction to mana potions. I kept drinking those things over and over and over again. That's fine, I mean, drinking mana is perfectly normal, nothing to be ashamed of. But if you don't have to drink them, that's better, because that's one less thing to focus on, one less thing to get distracted by, one less thing to go wrong. I mean, if you have an empty mana potion when you need it, that's an issue. I can't actually get over there, so let's go back. So Clarity solves that problem. But that does mean Clarity preserves mana, and it preserves about a third of my mana. So, hey, there's something in here. What is in here? This is a first. A loose crate, something moving over it. And it doesn't actually mark what it is for. I actually have to click it to see what's in. Hey, bonus time. 15% more monster life and they gain an endurance charge every 20 seconds. So, it's gonna be a challenge while I'm just explaining what I'm doing with my current build. So let's see, okay. Snake types, we can deal with snake types. Ooh, Regal Orb, that's a first. Don't really find those very often. Oh, it's very first in this league even. So, this totem, it's another new thing. It's actually a tip from a viewer, so thank you very much for that. Putting Wither on a spell totem means I don't have to cast it by hand myself. So that's yet another thing during combat that I don't have to pay attention to. And especially in those flight or die types situations, you just put a Wither totem down and you run, and it will slow down enemies. So if you're being pursued, a Wither totem actually can slow down enemies enough that they won't follow you. Also, it means that enemies will just keep getting stacks and stacks and stacks while you are actually casting your damaging skills. So it's a very nice synergy, and because it's basically a body. Monsters are gonna attack it, which gives you some opportunity to just cast Contagion and Essence Drain while the monsters waste their time. Oh, and here, you have that one. Pretty please. Yes. So yes, I did feed a talisman to a monster, and that was the wrong one. You are not an exile. Hey, exile died. No, actually, they didn't. They just ran away. Okay, so once again, here. Go, take it. Please. I want an achievement for that. Okay, thank you again. That's another one for the achievements. So I figured out the Break Rip Talisman. All it does, seems to do, is just give monsters knockback. Which actually doesn't really do that much damage, or is that annoying to me, since I'm ranged anyway. So I figured this is a very good one to just keep on me all the time, and then I can just drop it whenever I encounter an exile, then I can pick it up and I can cross them off of the achievement list. So that's that. So Wither's now on a spell totem. The thing is, as a shadow you can't actually get a spell totem. So that's why I didn't even see it or consider it, because in my mind spell totems were something you get very much later into the game. But turns out you actually unlock them the moment you reach the prison. And you unlock them on all characters except for the shadow and I believe the ranger. So I started the witch and leveled her to level 12 to the prison. A summoner witch, by the way, which is also very fun. As a side note, summons with chaos is a pretty interesting combination. And the talisman that gives +1 to zombies is also very nice to equip very early on a summoner, because it just gives you that much more body. Starting out with 4 zombies rather than 3, that's pretty decent. Also, that's a boss, yes. So, last thing. Vaal skeletons. I was lucky enough to... I think this area is the 4th cursed side area I've gotten so far in this run. And one of them dropped a Vaal orb. Or not a Vaal orb, a Vaal skeletons, which... I've actually on a summoner in the past, I've actually tried corrupting skeletons to just get it, and it didn't ever actually work. And this time it just dropped, so I'm very happy with it. And it's a pretty fun skill. It summons a bunch of skeletons, and it summons a general, a couple of archers and a whole bunch of warriors. And every time the skill levels up, you get an extra skeleton that is summoned to you. So you start out with a general, 2 archers and I believe 14 warriors. And I've gained 2 archers and 2 warriors on top now. So that's very nice, especially this is a class that doesn't want to get hit. So what better way to not get hit by just summoning a whole bunch of other things that the enemies can hit upon. So one of the things with Vaal skills is that they gather souls. You kill things and they gather souls, and that is limited to the level what you are in. So each level basically has their own pool of souls. So in this case I already have a bunch of souls collected because I already killed a bunch of things. So I can actually just summon it, and then if I go to a new area I start at 0 in that area. But if I then go back, then I still have the charges I gathered in this level, I will have them here. And presumably that is to prevent cheesing your way through boss fights and things like that. So if they don't want you to gather souls for a certain fight, they will not give you the means to gather souls in that fight. Which I suppose is fair as far as balancing is concerned. So let's see. 100-foot shadow. Here. So in this wither totem it's pretty nice because it just stacks the wither charges. So I don't have to. Here. Okay, so besides clarity I do have vulnerability with blasphemy setup. But if I activate it, you'll see I almost have no mana. So I've got 3 auras, pick 2. Or just not be able to cast anything. And in this case, clarity boosts my mana regen from 8 mana per second to 18 mana per second, and it really makes the build way more comfortable to play. So for now, that is what I'm going with. Ooh, and we have our skeleton army again. And a last thing, I picked up Bone Offering. It just dropped as a random drop, and it's actually pretty interesting. I'm not playing a pet build. Well, I have the Vaal skeletons, of course, so I could use Bone Offering with that to give them a block chance. But the nice thing about the Bone Offering skill is that if you cast it, it's a corpse explosion that changes to all nearby corpses. So if there are enemies just raising the undead, then all you need to do is cast a single Bone Offering and you can get rid of all the corpses on the floor. So it's a very efficient way to deal with corpses, because before I was carrying around Detonate Dead, and it's just a chore. If there's 10 corpses, you need to cast it 10 times, and it just takes too much time, so in the end you usually don't bother. But with Bone Offering, it's pretty easy to do it. So now if you're in the Lunaris Temple, with all those undead razors there, just equip it instead of something that you use less frequently, or instead of an aura. I mean, most of the time auras are enable and forget anyway, so those slots you can reuse for utility skills that you use less often, which to me works pretty darn well. And then final army in full glory. It's a very nice skill. If you cast it in the middle of combat when there's lots of heavy going on, they go down pretty quickly. But if you don't really have a lot of AoE going on, they are surprisingly sturdy. And I was lucky enough to roll a Flask of Animation, so I actually have the means to heal them during a fight. So that's a pretty decent build. So let's have another look at gear. It's all pretty low level. Just rolled it for resistances, some evasion. It's mostly, what's the level? 38, 30. This is very much unoptimized, but well, so far it works. Resistances have been maxed. I'm already working on building up over resists to be cruel ready, which actually sounds funny. Cruel ready. And the skill tree. Actually, this is my second rebuild. I actually managed to kill myself at level 19 with another one where I took some different choices. So I've had some suggestions to follow the path over here up rather than taking this direct line towards the node over here. So with the second rebuild I figured, hey, why not? Let's give it a shot. This build is pretty damaging, pretty safe. So no, let's give it a shot. So I actually took this route and then went up here to get some life, and then I followed it here and tried to get up here, but I was killed somewhere halfway through. And the thing is, I think it is because I just didn't have enough survivability early on. So on this rebuild I actually went directly for this node. I mean, you get a lot of damage here, you get 2% life regen per second, which is tremendous. And once again, I'm very much in favor of this. And then I just beelined back, grabbed the life here, further down here, went up here. Then I went up here, grabbed the life node. So I didn't actually take the long route around. I did take this for the extra life earlier on. And then I made my way over to a Hexmaster, which, since I'm not even using Blasphemy, right now it's not really doing a lot. And especially considering I'm so happy with Clarity, I might not even go with curses, at least not with Blasphemy and boosted curses on this build. So I will just have to see how things work out, maybe grab some mana reservation reduction nodes and then give it a shot. Also, if I'm not going with hexes, then the boosted aura effects actually become more useful. Because, well, if I'm using Blasphemy, then one of my auras is not benefiting from those effects. And since I probably only have the mana to run 2 auras, that's 50% of the auras that will not gain effects from the skill nodes, which feels like a bit of a waste. So it opens up different options. So next up, this wheel is pretty nice for just life and energy shield. Down here, Void Barrier is also very nice for defenses. And as I said, this wheel, grabbing those as well. And I think for now that's all I have to update on the rebuild. So the rebuild is still going strong. And I plan by the time I reach Act 2 again in Cruel, I'll just start recording regularly again and just resume the series where I left off. But until then, I'm just gonna play and try to get through the game as fast as possible. If you've played already before and have a stash filled with goodies, doing a rebuild is, well, surprisingly doable, because a stash with especially a tab with a whole bunch of low level gear. Really useful. I mean, the first time through I only kept mastercrafted things and some more powerful items, but I threw away most of the low level stuff. Now I've got a stash tab filled with just stuff I used while leveling and then just threw away afterwards. So if I need to do another rebuild, I will have a whole bunch of gear ready. So that's one tip I can give you if you are building a hardcore character, especially new on the league. Then have yourself a tab with a bunch of old items, so that if you kill yourself, you have a lot easier time with a rebuild. And in addition to that, having some scrolls of wisdom and portals in your stash is useful. I try to keep about 10 of both on me. If I get more than 20, I just start offloading them into my stash. So once again, if you create another character, you have some spares, especially portals early on. They don't really drop a lot, so having some in your stash helps you bridge through the earlier part of the game without having to buy them, because that's kind of a waste of currency. And with that, I thank you for watching, and I'll probably won't report back in until I'm just gonna resume the build. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.